This is Hokies All Access, produced by your official local television home of the Virginia Tech Hokies, in association with Virginia Tech Sports Properties. Hokies All Access.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Jermaine Ferrell. Hoping your day is wonderful and blessed. Like butter, let's go on the roll, baby, with a little thing we like to call Hokies All Access. Now, in our opening drive segment of Hokies All Access with first quarter action, the 18th ranked Virginia Tech men's basketball team will have to wait a little bit longer to get back on the court to play a game. Virginia Tech's game at Florida State on Saturday is being postponed due to the Hokies being under COVID-19 protocol after a positive case of COVID-19 was discovered within the program last Tuesday. Now, Virginia Tech head coach Mike Young said that the positive test didn't come from a player, but someone in the inner circle of the program as part of what is called Tier 1 group. Now, Tuesday's scheduled game in North Carolina was postponed last week due to the contact tracing. Only 6 players are eligible to practice.
I am sick to my stomach. Here we are in mid-February, and I've got a good basketball team. I'm having the time of my life coaching this team. To have an interruption, disruption, whatever it is concerning.
All right, folks, it is full booth time. And, of course, when we talk full booth, I got the dynamic duo in the house, which makes it a trio. We're talking about the voice of the Hokies, John Laser, and, of course, Virginia Tech Hall of Famer Mike Burnop. What is going on, gentlemen?
Big Daddy.
Great to be with you on Full Booth.
Yeah, but with my size, I definitely make it a full booth. But anyway, I tell you what.
Taking you with the Old Dominion.
That's true. That's good eating right there. But, guys, I tell you, you guys have had an extended break due to the, COVID with Virginia Tech. And obviously it's been a long-going thing, recently. And from your perspective, overall, just your thoughts about when you heard what happened, because the program right now is a situation you haven't played games in a while because of that.
Yeah, I think it was an inevitability, quite frankly, particularly when the students came back for the spring semester after the holiday break, that this was going to happen, because it's not just the players that are in the program that you worry about. There's just so many people that go into college basketball at this level when you're talking about training staff and coaches and family members of that staff and student managers and all of those things. So I think that it had been a situation where you were just bracing all season long to try to get in as many games as you could, have as much success early as you could, and then hope when it did happen to your program, it wasn't all that significant in terms of the amount of guys that you couldn't work out and train with. And fortunately, we don't have all the details as to what happened with Virginia Tech, but I do know that is the case. So hopefully when they return, which they will, they can pick up the rhythm that they had showcased over the previous 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, it was one of those things, Jermaine. I guess it was just the Hokies' time, right? You probably think you couldn't skate through the season without having some incident happen. And so it happens. You deal with it. Hope that's the one and done that you have. And it's unfortunate that they're missing all those games, because I feel bad for Coach Young, because it's the best team he's had, obviously, here. And you feel bad for the players. You feel bad for the staff, the fans. You feel bad for everybody, because this team has got a chance to have a pretty remarkable season. And now they've kind of been stuck in la-la land, hadn't played since the Miami game. And that's just the way it is. You have to deal with it. And you just hope when they do come back that obviously they'll be well rested, you hope, but you hope they don't have much rust, right? And they can get back into the rhythm of the game and kind of get back to where they were, because they were playing at a very high level. I think the good news about this is that after spending all that time on the road, you finally get some home games now. So as the way it stands, right now, you're going to have those 3 home games, and the last one right now scheduled is at least NC State on the road. So give you a chance to be back at home in the friendly confines of the castle and try to get some momentum and some of that drive back.
Now, as broadcasters, guys, I got to ask you, how have you guys been handling this? Because remember, you guys had the football season, now you're in the basketball season. But how have you guys been handling all the constant change? Because basically, you have to have your schedule in dry erase marker or pencil.
Yeah, I think that, honestly, from a logistical sense, it's not all that difficult, Jermaine. I think some of the things that make it more complicated are our sports networks. So the notification for our affiliates, they've been phenomenal all throughout our network in terms of being adaptable and canceling and having fill-in programming, and then being ready to go if and when we do play. So kudos to them for making it work. Honestly, on our end, it hasn't been all that difficult, except for trying to not be bored. In many ways, it feels like the early days of the pandemic where you're kind of locked in your house with this weather and everything else that's going on. I know for myself, I know Mike's still busy over at New River Office Supply running that show, but I'm not here at Laser Incorporated, so I bought an Instapot, and I've basically been learning how to cook with it.
Yeah, and I'm doing my real job, Jermaine. Just trying to survive, pushing as many Sharpies and chairs and furniture as I can, just to stay ahead of the posse. So it has been interesting. It has been kind of fun watching some other basketball games and having a little free time at night. And yeah, so that keeps my tennis game kind of sharp. And when the weather's been bad, I've gotten a little sleigh riding in. So that's been kind of cool as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen some video of you sleigh riding, so that'll be interesting. But even more interesting is, you know, Miss Renee. I wonder, has she been okay sampling your food, John? I mean, the missus, because I'm wondering, you said you started to cook a little bit, so we might have to get a sample, but we will table that discussion for another time when it comes to food. But anyway, speaking of good stuff, we have another segment of Full Booth, and this one will feature Virginia Tech football. We talk about some of the changes that the coaching staffs will shine a spotlight on that in the next segment of Full Booth right here on Hokies All Access. And coming up on Hokies All Access, we have an update on the Hokie winter sports. Stick and stay, please.
Produced by your official local television home of the Hokies. This is Hokies All Access.
And welcome back to the Maroon and Orange Express, also known as Hokies All Access. Now we're in our Hokie highlights segment of Hokies All Access with second quarter action. 2 years ago, the Virginia Tech men's basketball team was making a Sweet 16 run in the NCAA tournament. Before that run, there was another memorable Hokie squad. Now, back in the 60s, led by Kentucky rifle Glenn Combs. Now, last year, I caught up with the Hokies legend to talk about his hoops career.
An authentic, real ABA basketball. Of course, it's not as large as, it's not inflated properly now, but it was a game that I hit 7 3-pointers in Utah in 1971. This is something that we've talked about that I was proud of as well, and that is, of course, being recognized and honored as an ACC legend representing Virginia Tech. Going into the season, I don't think the expectations were that high. Honestly, what happened was we had a couple of personnel changes early in the year, and we ended up going with a fairly small team, and we opened the season up against Duke and knocked Duke off. We upset Duke, who at that time was ranked second or third in the country in the preseason polls. So that is really what got our season kicked off in the right direction. Then we came back and beat Purdue in Blacksburg the next night in front of the largest crowd that's ever been in Castle Coliseum. So for a brief period of time there, we were ranked in the top 10. Yeah, an independent, there was only, you know, just a few spaces open, so we were able to grab one of them. But you look at it now, the ACC, for example, there's numerous teams can get in the tournament. At that time, they only took one team. That was the ACC tournament champion. So being an independent may have, looking back on it, may have played to our advantage that particular year. The ABA was only 2 years old. Well, actually, I think it had just finished its first year, but they had some pretty revolutionary ideas, like the three-point rule. They had a wider space inside the lanes. They had the red, white, and blue ball, and it was kind of a guards league. It was, you know, it rewarded outside shooters. And yeah, Virginia Tech, that was my primary focus, was my long-range shooting. So that, when it got down to making a decision on where to go, during that era, nobody really made a lot of money anywhere. So it wasn't a money factor. You know, we played, I'm not even going to say what we made, but it wasn't much.
And We thank Glenn Combs for that interview. Now, the 1966-67 squad, led by the Kentucky Rifle, lost in the regional finals in overtime to Dayton. After departing from Tech, Combs embarked on a professional career that saw him play with 4 different American Basketball Association teams and making 3 All-Star Game appearances. He won a title with the Utah Stars in 1971, and the following season he led the league in three-pointers. Staying with the basketball theme on the women's side, as guard Georgia Abemore, the freshman, was named the ACC Freshman of the Week. In the Hokies' 75-55 victory at Miami, the Australian native scored 17 points of 5 of 6 shooting from beyond the arc. She dished out 5 assists while committing just a single turnover and also set a career mark with 4 steals. On the season, Abemore has 82 assists, by far the most by a freshman in the conference. She leads all ACC freshmen with 43s this season and is shooting 42.6% from the three-point line, which is second in the league. Coming up on Hokies All Access, Mike Young talks about the importance of his players as well as Mekhi Lewis. We have a feature on him. This is Hokies All Access.
Produced by your official local television home of the Hokies. This is Hokies All Access.
And welcome back to Hokies All Access with third quarter action. At the end of the month, the Hokies wrestling team will compete for an ACC championship after completing a perfect regular season for the first time since 1957. But it's still unclear whether one of the nation's top wrestlers will be able to make the mat to the postseason. Mekhi Lewis is day-to-day recovering from a shoulder injury, according to head coach Tony Roby. The #1 wrestler at 165 pounds got hurt during his match last week against Pitt's Jake Wenzel. Now, Roby says that Lewis will need rehab, but the Hokies are hopeful that he'll return during the postseason. Lewis was undefeated prior to Friday's injury and looks to defend his 2019 NCAA tournament title. Coach Roby shares more on Lewis in this week's Coach's Corner.
I think it's hard. It'd be hard for anybody, but in my talked to him a little bit over the weekend, and he seemed okay. But it's day to day, man. It's a tough thing. So he's got a lot of support here with his teammates and with his coaches and with his family at Virginia Tech. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're supporting Mekhi in every single way that we possibly can, and that's from a wrestling, a medical standpoint, and then just from making sure we're there for him, in other areas of his life as well.
Now, the ACC championships are set to take place in Raleigh on February 28th. Coming up on Hokies All Access, John and Mike rejoin me to talk about the new coaches on the Virginia Tech football staff. This is Hokies All Access. All right, folks, welcome back to Hokies All Access with fourth quarter action. And again, it's round 2 of Full Booth, and rejoining me again, Mike Burnup and John Laser. And first of all, we mentioned in the first segment of Full Booth, John, cooking. I got to ask you real quick, how has that been coming? Because we did like a cliffhanger tease, but how has that been coming? Because with your downtime, you've said you've been cooking up some things. How's that been turning?
It's been going really well, Jermaine. Quite frankly, I'm fearless in the kitchen because I don't care if it's not good. We always have Grubhub as a backup. So when you go into the lane fearlessly, a lot of times you can get the ball up on the rim. My jambalaya has been well received. Many of my other seafood entrees have been good. And every time the Instapot opens, it's like a new mystery for the missus. She still doesn't understand how the pressure cooker works.
Well, Mike, could you break down John Laser's cooking skills that you know of?
Well, when you got an Instapot, bro, you just throw everything in there and it doesn't matter because it's going to come out okay. It's going to be warm and hopefully juicy. So, yeah, I have a lot of faith in the Lays. I'm sure that's something he'll work on and continue to work on and refine those culinary skills, so to speak.
There you go. Well, you know what? Hey, I'm good in the kitchen, too. I hate to brag, hate to pat myself on the back, but I'm going to do that real quick. Well,
we can tell.
We can tell. Yeah, you can tell all the girth right here. So
somebody's cooking.
There you go. Someone's cooking. Someone's in the kitchen. Someone's in the kitchen. Something like that. Some song. But anyway, enough singing because that's not my forte. My forte is talking to greatness in you and you, of course, John and Mike. And really, we're going to focus on football now. One interesting thing is a lot of changes with the coaching staff, which has been in the spotlight. Guys, just give me your thoughts about the new coaches that are coming in to assist the Virginia Tech football program because there are a lot of familiar faces in the world of coaching on this team.
Well, I'll talk about Jack Tyler, and I'll let Mikey talk about J.C. Price because I know he knows J.C. quite a bit better than I do, having been here during his playing days, and I'm sure keeping in touch with him to some degree from there. I can say just in my brief interactions with J.C. since he's been back in Blacksburg, he just screams to me Virginia Tech football in terms of who he is and what his background is and all of those things. So great addition. But I have to say, I'm so happy for Jack Tyler. He's been here since I've been here, which is 6 years, and obviously he was here as a player before that. But to watch a guy that was as well thought of as he was realize the work that it took to get to the level that he's now at has been fun to see. You know, first person on the practice field every day was Jack Tyler, whether that was as a graduate assistant, quality control, whatever role he may have been in. It was always he and Cody Grimm, best friends. And now to see Cody as a Super Bowl champion down with Bruce Arians and to see Jack get this opportunity. And I think the biggest thing with these additions, along with going over during the past few weeks to see some of the renovations, the Student Athlete Performance Center pretty much done. The weight room is pretty much done, save for the weights arriving in a couple of weeks. The new dorm will be done in the fall. I think he's starting to see the pieces fall into place from a personnel standpoint and also a facility standpoint to get Virginia Tech recruiting back where it needs to be.
You know, the first thing, Jermaine, is that you're so happy for those two guys just because they're Hokies. You know, they both played here. You know, Jack was a great player. He wasn't great when he got here. He worked himself into that role and became a great player. And now he's doing that on the practice field and helping the coaches and being part of the coaching staff. I think it's fantastic for him. A really great story. And you go back to J.C. Price, the same thing. I mean, J.C. ended up being a terrific player here, had that lunch pail work ethic, just a tremendous guy. You know, he paid his dues, always wanted to come back to Virginia Tech and spent time at other places like James Madison and obviously Marshall, where he came from. And they had, you know, the leading defense in the country against the run. And so not only that, he's a great recruiter. And I think that'll certainly pay big dividends because he had incredible relationships with the coaches around the state of Virginia, Richmond and Tidewater, Northern Virginia. So two great additions there. Two guys that will certainly pay big dividends. They know what it's about. They know what the school's about, the academic part of it, having a degree from Virginia Tech. And they're very welcome additions. Then you throw in a guy like John Tenuta, who was announced, you know, just recently as well. You know, think about him and the experience that he brings to the table. 40 years coaching. I mean, my goodness, the knowledge in his noggin is incredible. And he can certainly help Jay Ham and those defensive coaches kind of break it down, analyze what needs to be done, what the tendencies are. He can kind of help those guys in the game day prep, you know, the practice prep, all those sorts of things. And I think that's a tremendous addition, too. The only guy that you could think of that's got maybe more stops than Tenuta had was one of our former coaches, Phil Elmation, St. Elmo, we called him, because Elmo had so many stops under his belt, but Tenuta might have him beat. And how cool is it for him, too, to have his son, such a tremendous factor of your offensive line, to be able to coach and watch him play at the same time? That's really cool.
What's really cool, you mentioned Phil Almation. Locally in the Roanoke area, we hear him on the Greg Roberts radio show here in the Roanoke area, and you talk about stories. I mean, I get an education listening to Coach Elmo, you know, Phil Almation, who is, he's a legend. You know, he's coached everywhere. I mean, you know the song, I've Been Everywhere? Well, him and Tenuta, they could sit there and trade stories. So, you know, maybe we can get Coach Almation on Full Booth, and that really will be fun. But we'll work on that. But anyway, we don't need to add any more to it because we already got greatness here. But, you know, maybe on the side, a side thing right there. But I'm looking forward to a full plate from you, John and Mike. Mike, how are you in the kitchen, Mike? I forgot to ask you.
I mainly cook on the grill, Jermaine. I don't do a lot of cooking in the kitchen because, you know, it's kind of crazy to cook for one, right? So yeah. Most of the time it's on the grill or using the microwave.
You know, we should have a cooking contest. So we will have a maybe on Full Booth one time, we'll have a cooking contest. We'll all have our go-to meal, and we'll send it somewhere to each other. We'll deposit it, and John and Mike, y'all will beat me in it, obviously, because we'll set it up that way. But because like I said, the crock pot deal, the pot thing, you love it. So, guys, thank you so much again for being on Full Booth. It's always a joy and a pleasure, and we're going to catch up with you next week. Hopefully, we can talk some Virginia Tech basketball. Hopefully, they can get back into it. But you guys are always rock stars. You never take a week off.
Thanks, Jermaine.
Thanks, Big Daddy. Good talking to you.
Now, for all things Hokies All Access, log on to HokiesAllAccess.com. That does it for this edition of Hokies All Access. I'm Jermaine Ferrell. Let's rock and roll with it and go Hokies!